Citizens speak out. As people continue to stand up for human rights, political freedom, and democratic representation, they gather in countries around the world, including Australia, Bahrain, Belarus, Bolivia, Egypt, Hungary, Libya, Somalia, Spain, Syria, the United States, and Yemen.
Egypt. Hussein Salem, a top aide to former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak, was arrested Thursday, June 16, along with his son and a Turkish businessman in Spain on an international arrest warrant relating to charges of dishonesty during his term in office.
Somalia. In spite of demands by protesters that Somali Prime Minister Abdullahi Mohamed remain in office, he announced on Sunday that he was resigning in the interests of the nation to comply with an agreement intended to stabilize the country's governance, but which also requires the appointment of another prime minister.
Deputy Prime Minister Abdi Weli is meanwhile assuming the role of acting prime minister until a new appointment is made.
Bahrain. Following an April ban on any gatherings by WAD political party members, including a shutdown of their headquarters in the capital Manama, the Bahraini government announced on Saturday that it is lifting the ban on the country's second largest minority party. However, military trials continue for protesters, including one held for 15-year-old Yusuf al-Basri, who is said to have been tortured in prison.
According to a report by Press TV, Bahraini students studying in the UK were secretly filmed when they protested against their government's crackdown on demonstrators last March. Since then, some have had their homeland government scholarships withdrawn, while others state that they have been pressured to sign a pledge agreeing not to participate in any protests and to inform the government of fellow students who do.
Meanwhile, UK schools like Manchester Metropolitan University have said a rapid response measure is being implemented to support students whose countries are deemed to be in political crisis so that they are able to complete their education, even if their country's scholarships are withdrawn.
Spain. As the Spanish government continues seeking to stabilize the country in the midst of fiscal crisis, some 37,000 protesters gathered before the Parliament building in the capital Madrid, with similar rallies planned in 55 other cities. Calling themselves the Indignants, the activists persisted in calls for change to alleviate conditions such as an unemployment rate that is the highest in the European Union.
Australia. Thousands of Australians marked World Refugee Day by protesting the government's May 7th decision to send asylum seekers to third-party countries like Malaysia. With families that are already being impacted by potential separation, such as an immigrant father in Australia whose newly arriving wife and child are now being sent to Malaysia, the Australian Parliament has voted that the government should abandon the policy, while the UN has questioned its legality, as Malaysia is not a signatory of the UN Refugee Convention.
United States. On Friday, representatives at the U.S. Conference of Mayors submitted a referendum calling upon Congress to end participation in foreign wars, which have killed 6,000 U.S. troops and are costing $126 billion annually, and to use the money instead for job creation, infrastructure rebuilding, aid to municipal and state governments, and for the development of a new economy based on sustainable energy.
Belarus. The UN Human Rights Council spoke out on Friday against rights violations perpetrated by the Belarusian government before, during, and after the presidential elections held on December 19, 2010, as well as the country's lack of fair trials. It went on to urge a halt to the persecution and harassment of all minority party leaders, civil society representatives, human rights activists, lawyers, media members, students, and those defending them.
Hungary. Around 10,000 police officers, firefighters, soldiers, and others marched through Budapest on Saturday to protest austerity measures, including plans to retroactively abolish pensions for people under the age of 65, which the government states is necessary to avert a fiscal crisis.
Syria. As the government's crackdown continues in northwest Syria, witnesses reported that security forces with tanks and heavy machine guns attacked a town near the Turkish border called Badama on Saturday, setting houses on fire and arresting dozens of civilians.
To assist thousands of Syrians now gathered at the border region near Turkey who hastily left their homes as they escaped the violence, the Turkish government announced Sunday that it had begun delivering humanitarian aid to their Syrian neighbors. Another 10,500 refugees are also sheltered in camps inside Turkey, and up to 8,500 are reported to be in Lebanon, staying in the homes of relatives or kind strangers.
Meanwhile, a commentary by U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton titled "There is no going back in Syria" was published Saturday in the Pan-Arab Asharq al-Assad newspaper, firmly urging Syria's transition to democracy.
Libya. On Sunday, just after her Friday visit to Syrian refugees in Turkey, U.S. Hollywood actress Angelina Jolie made a surprise visit to Italy's Lampedusa island, where more than 40,000 refugees, mostly from sub-Saharan Africa, have fled the violence in northern Africa over the recent months.
Sympathizing with those who risked their lives to cross the Mediterranean Sea on crowded boats, Ms. Jolie thanked the Italian residents of Lampedusa for their generous hosting, as she expressed hope that the asylum seekers' request would be met quickly to ensure their safety and freedom.
Yemen. On Saturday, more than 100 prominent Yemeni religious clerics and tribal leaders issued a joint petition demanding that presidential elections be held within 60 days for a new leader to replace President Abdullahi Saleh, who they say must step down. Meanwhile, Yemeni Deputy Minister of Religious Endowments and Guidance, Mohamed al-Fusil, who had been wounded along with President Saleh on June 4th, passed away Saturday while being treated in a Saudi hospital.
With deep sympathies for those who have perished or are enduring hardship due to the conflicts, our prayers continue that strife in all nations may subside for people worldwide to choose to live side by side in dignity, freedom, and peace.